Hey guys, welcome back to Full Package RC. We are here for our end of year wrap up and our Christmas holiday show, shall we say. And I am here with our favorite elf on a shelf, Mike.
Hey, what's up, guys?
The Christmas gift no one really wanted, Aaron.
Yo. Oh, God, that's rough.
And I am your favorite jolly fat man, Bob. With us,
That's a good one.
Right? Hey, I'm just not in the red suit, but I got the beard that's turning gray. So we do have a guest with us tonight, so we are going to introduce him before we get into finding out what Mike decided to spend all his money on for Black Friday. So for that introduction, I am going to turn things over to Aaron for the moment. So Aaron, it's all yours.
Well, we just want to welcome in our boy Damien Scott from Team Car Shop Karoshi, the owner of Smile X Death. He's the host of the coolest fucking drift podcast around, maybe next to the goodest cast, Pile Up Podcast. Damien Scott, thank you for being here.
Oh man, the goodest cast, like little jab. I like that. I like that. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
That's good. He was all.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
You got to have him as your personal hype man going around now with you, Damien.
Personal hype man. What?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
That was pretty good. I was impressed. That was way better than I could do. I just would have said, "Hey, here's Damien. He's a drifter."
Yeah. Hey,
I want to ask Aaron something.
Uh-oh.
Yes, sir.
How's it feel to find out on a podcast that you were a surprise?
Oh, I'd figured that.
That
was
wasn't
either
really
I figured
true.
a surprise or unwanted, or the mailman's kid.
No, he was. That is farthest from the truth. He knows that.
I know. I couldn't pass that one up because I know that's not how you expected that to come out. But
no, it didn't. But that's funny now you say it that way.
I mean, look at my dad and look at me. I could be the mailman's kid. I could be.
Hey.
This is true.
What are you saying? Just because you're not my size? You're not as good looking as me. That's true.
You're right.
So we can go there. So anyway, see, here we are, going off the rails already, and we're only 2 minutes in. So let's kind of find out, since it's been, I don't know, maybe about a month since we had our last show. Let's find out what we missed Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that good stuff. And since we all know Mike likes to, buy stuff, sell stuff, and look for the good deals, and he's our resident shopper, let's find out what Mike bought for Black Friday.
It's a lot of pressure,
isn't it?
I don't even remember what I had last time we recorded, to be honest with you.
That doesn't matter what you had. You just gotta tell us what you bought.
Well, I could tell you what I did buy for sure. I did buy a new Goose Guy RS7 kit, and I jumped on a live stream for Heli Direct and ended up winning a Steam 420 kit too.
Nice.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, I got a freebie in there, and then kind of felt bad because they shipped it to me free and everything. So then I went there and bought the RS7 and probably spent about $1,500 on their website on Black Friday. So they got my money out of me.
A lot of money.
What's that?
Your free heli cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, it did. It did end up costing me money.
Yeah.
A bunch of shit that I wasn't planning on buying, and the stuff that I was planning on buying, I didn't even buy. So
nice.
Great.
Cyber Monday.
I also picked up 4 of the Radio Master Nexus units.
Oh.
I'm going to try my hand at that
again.
Rotor Flight stuff again. Yeah. Need something to do over the wintertime. So I'm going to dig back into it.
Check back in a couple of weeks. That stuff will all be for sale on Marketplace.
Possibly. I did get one set up already. The setup went way smoother this time around, but the tuning is kind of where I'm a little nervous because there's a lot of filtering and stuff you have to do, which I've never messed with. And then when you go to tune the gains on the unit, it's all PID tuning. Like there's no general gain sliders that kind of calculate.
You like making your life hard, huh?
He does.
I get bored, man.
Yeah, I can tell. Holy shit.
I get bored.
That's why he'll sell it and then he'll buy something else and go from there.
Yeah, it'll piss me off, and then I'll sell it to somebody and go back to where I was and buy it again 6 months later. So yeah, in the spring I had the X18, I had 2 Nexus units, and what else was there? And an electric 700.
Yep.
And sold it all, and now I currently have an X18, 4 Nexus units, and an electric 700.
Come full circle back around. That's what Black Friday and Cyber Monday do to you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. I did find myself trying to find a a drift body for my drift car. It's gonna try and cheer you guys up a little bit.
Hey, finally, give your drift car some love.
Yeah, but I don't.
Now you
I don't
just
know.
gotta learn how to drive it.
Nothing catches my eye.
And hopefully this time not by a fucking Z body.
Well,
Or that.
Buy something cool.
Yeah, you gotta burn that Mustang when you have.
yeah,
Fucking
I
crowd
like the
killer.
Mustang one,
Yeah, you're the only one.
but I need to find something that's already painted and done up.
What?
Like
No.
what do they call them? Killer bodies or whatever.
That takes the fun out of it, though. You got to do the creative juices flowing and paint it up yourself, and make it look good. Do the lights, do whatever.
I'll send you this Z body. I let my creative juices flow on, and you tell me how much creative.
I'll
juices
do it.
I
Just
got.
leave all your juices off of it, and I'll do it. I don't want any of those juices. You keep that to yourself.
Sterilize it before you ship it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'll sterilize it for him.
Oh man. All right. That's that. We're going to a different. We're going to get a wrong rating on this show. That's nasty.
But that's about it. Not anything too crazy. Spent some money, got some stuff built, and currently been building a PC for my dad. My dad's PC shit the bed, so
Nice.
that's my most recent project. So that's where I'm at.
What about you,
What about
Aaron?
you, Bob?
I just bought more shit for my E46 I've been working on. That's really all I used Black Friday for, was just cheaper shipping prices. That's all I've been getting on. I've had a neglected E46 330 I've just had sitting for a while, and I'm finally at the point where I'm trying to get that back up and going as a fun little street car, and really just took advantage of getting the drivetrain parts I needed for it, and free shipping on Black Friday. That was beautiful.
But I mean, let's face it. It is a BMW, so you'll get it fixed and give it a week, and it'll be broken again.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's an E46. Yeah, it's gonna be broken again in 5 seconds after I fix it. But
Pretty much.
that's the way she goes.
What about you, Damien? You get anything good for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whether it be RC or real car shit?
I was actually trying to think here while you guys are talking about this, and honestly, I don't think I did take advantage of anything. Realistically, I should have been trying to do, my own sales or pushing my own things, and I didn't even do that. Everything was already pretty much on sale on my site, so I said screw it. And I'm trying to think. I think I got, and I don't know if this was Black Friday or more so a blowout from a company called Cusco in Japan. They kind of unloaded stuff around the same time. So I did get a strut bar for one of my A86s, but that's pretty much it. And that was just like, I would have bought that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, no specific deals. No.
Yeah, same. I didn't do anything on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, but then I was at work one day, and for some reason I decided I needed a new radio for my drift cars, and I upgraded to a Spectrum DX5 Pro. So,
nice.
Yeah, how to be comfortable when you're drifting, right?
Yeah, I really like the Spectrum stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
They feel good.
I like them. I mean, Futaba, there's a lot of good companies out there. I used to have an old Futaba 3PK, if anybody remembers those. And it was a heavy radio, but I have bigger hands, and it was just comfortable. The weight of it was good. And this DX5 Pro sort of reminds me of that a little bit. It's a little bit bigger. It's not as sleek as some others, and I actually kind of like it for that reason. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the 5 Pro and the regular 5?
So the 5 Pro has a drop-down wheel, so it brings the wheel down a little lower. And then I can also put an angle to it where I can change the angle of the wheel a little bit. So you can just hold the radio in a more comfortable, natural position. So being more comfortable just lets you do everything a little bit better.
And the buttons hopefully won't stick. I love my Spectrum stuff, but the DX5s had the problem with all those buttons sticking. So I didn't necessarily love that. I still am rocking with my old DX4C, and that thing's a champ.
Yeah, that's right. You have that old thing yet.
Hopefully your 5 Pro is better than the normal 5, because those are kind of eh.
I've had my DX5C for a while, and it's been working pretty good. I can't complain, honestly. And it's done good. I just wanted to upgrade to the Pro. But that was about the only thing new I've gotten since, last show, or anything on any kind of specials deals. And that wasn't really a special or a deal because I work there. So I just got it there. That's the downside of being into a hobby and working at a hobby shop. You're at work and see new shit and go, ooh, I got to have this. That can get expensive.
I could never work at a hobby shop.
Yeah.
I'm way too impulsive.
Oh my God. You'd end up, yeah. I mean, the shop would end up closing because they'd never have inventory left.
I'd be like, all right, close the doors. We'll figure out a payment plan.
Nice. Yeah, you will. Mike would be like, close the doors. Let me get a little sucky for drift car kit.
Yeah. Yep,
Get
and
my
then
creative juices
we're
flowing.
back to putting his. Yep, I was gonna say we're back to putting his creative juices all over everything again.
Squeegee in the window so you can see in the actual store. It's that bad.
That's nasty. So, all right, we'll move on from that. That's enough of that. I guess Damien, tell us a little bit about you. We know you do the full scale, obviously drifting. You know, you're actually putting your life on the line, sitting in there, other than just holding the controller going at it too. But which came first for you? Did you do RC drifting or the real drifting first?
So it's actually, I went back memory lane a little bit, and I had to think. I was like, when was I actually even RC drifting? But for me, I started full scale, and I don't even really call it drifting. I call it just messing around. In 2004. So 04, I thought I was a drifter, and if you could see me doing air quotes, I'm air quoting the drifter part of that.
Yeah.
Because it was just me doing dumb stuff. When you're young in a car and you kick it out just a little bit, it's enough to excite you to be like, I'm a drifter. But yeah, it probably pushed into, and then I messed around for a while. Never really doing anything spectacular though. I did not pick it up fast. Some of these guys that I'm with now piss me off so much. They get in a car and within like 2-3 weeks, they're already like slaying tracks, and it's crazy. But I messed around in full scale first, and then in 2014, 2015, I was introduced to the RC world, and it fucked me up. So yeah, I took a massive hiatus because I wasn't doing so good in the IRL world. The full scale drifting, it was there, but like, I don't know, I just wasn't doing what I thought I'd be doing by then. And then with RC, it was kind of second nature. I played around for the first time and was linking the track, so it was already exciting for me. So 2014, 2015, I went hard into RC drifting, like really hard. And then that literally took 2 years of my life, like a huge chunk of no actual drifting. Real drift cars were sitting there, but they were just collecting dust because I was so involved and so excited about RC drifting that it kind of screwed me up, and I'm still like, I'm a super IRL full scale drifter now, but it's never going to go away. The RC drifting, once it takes hold, like it's just rooted, it's rooted.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think RC drifting is a very easy, accessible way to get that similar feeling. Because, like, at least for me, the RC drifting is very similar to getting that same feeling like running a sim. It kind of scratches that itch that if you're not out there linking the track in real life, you can still link a track and get that real sort of feel and that real flow, through the controller. And there is definitely a feel to it. So I think the RC is a great, also like, a great teacher. It can kind of help potentially improve your real driving skill as well.
So with that, it was something that was wild to me. After that 2-year break, when I did come back, I noticed that I was just better. Like I had a better understanding of throttle control, and I had a better understanding of grip and slip, which was really, really cool. Now, granted, what I was doing in the RC world was a little different at the time. I was looking for, because I was a real driver first, I was looking for that realistic speed, realistic grip, and realistic like slip. So when it does actually break free, how fast are you actually going to be able to go? And before it breaks free, how gripped up can you be? And that's what we lost, I think, nowadays. RC drifting now is very arcade to me. Yes. And it's fun, and I think it's cool. I get it, because when you're getting doors and you're just, you're sideways the whole time, and it's very flowy. It's there's that exhilaration is still there, but it doesn't have the sim scale stuff to me anymore that brought me into it. So, it's just something that when I was doing it at the time was kind of like, well, why are you putting carpet down and then making it grip up a little bit? They didn't understand that. But once we got my group situated and we started pulling in real drifters as well, they understood that if you're going to do something and you're in 1/10 scale, it should still be accurate, because that's the exciting part about it, is that we're just replicating it in a 1/10 scale. And nowadays is so different. And Yeah, I don't know what you guys, get to see. I'm sure you see way more than what I've seen. But when I've seen of any recent drifting, it's just like ice skating. Everything's just super smooth, and that's not how real drifting is, So
do you think that's because of like advancement in like product and technologies and stuff, or is it just like a new trend or a new style of RC drifting?
I'm gonna say it comes down to, and I don't mean any offense, but it comes down to laziness. So people want that pick up a controller and you're getting doors right away.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you have to finally tune a chassis to be able to weight transfer how a real car does, that takes months. So it comes down to laziness. It comes down to instant gratification. Look at the scale crawler guys, the detail into that to make it like real is how it should be, in my opinion. Not all the time. There's definitely always a time and a place. If I just want to brainlessly sit there and be in a train of like 20 guys that were just ice skating around, that is also very fun. And I'm not trying to put anybody down, but for me personally, I think it got lazy. It's easy to make a car. You take a ready to run MST and tune it just a little bit, and in one day you're sliding with your friends. So what we did took a long time.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you touched on a very interesting point there as far as the laziness, and I think it's from also not for a bad thing, but I think it's a lack of understanding of real drifting from people. A lot of the RC tracks I've been to, they almost encourage manji the straights. They encourage basically staying in drift the whole time.
Right.
Where you watch Naoki drive Mayhan, you're straight down that whole stretch unless you're entering on that fucking wall.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely I think it's a mixture of people wanting that ease to bang doors without taking the skill, and leveling their skill up, and also just a lack of understanding of what drift cars should be. I think a lot of people think, to get a car to drift, you want to loosen them up, you want to take grip out, and that's not how real drifting is whatsoever. So I think it's a lot of people trying to bridge that gap without a full understanding of real driving, and that's okay. It just leads to different styles than when you're at the RC track.
Right.
Yeah, it just seems like they want the consistency, like the even consistency from the whole track. They want to do a whole lap with the track feeling the same the whole way. But I mean, and again, I've never drifted, in real life or anything, but I don't think you're going to find anywhere where you're going to have consistent grip for an entire lap anywhere. You have to dial a car in where it's going to work good for a whole setup, where maybe some corners it's probably going to be a little bit better than others, but then that's where the driving portion of it, I think, comes into it. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I always wished, and this is RC and sim, which I do a lot of the sim drifting as well. I always wished that the people that created the cars or created the mods or created the tracks understood that the first assignment should be that your car should be able to grip drive this whole track first and foremost. Because my drift car, when I take a turn, doesn't just automatically slide. And that's the problem. We're based around the slide. We're not based around anything else besides that. So when I build a track, when I focus on my own RC or sim stuff, because I did mess around with mods for sim, actual PC sim game stuff too. The focus has always been, I'm going to hit this straightaway and I'm not drifting until 3/4 of the way down. And then I'm hucking it as fast as I can to use what's called physics, which we should be using in RC as well, to slow me down and then, throttle out. And I feel like, we skip that. Like, now granted, it's such a fine line because we're using plastic tires, like, there's a lot of grip to be had there. I've put on some crazy compounds and the car was a rocket ship. But that's the balance that's really hard to find. It's either, and it's just like that in sim drifting. It's either the car's a rocket ship and can grip and you're here doing GT touring stuff, or it's just an ice skating rink. So, but finding that balance is part of the fun for me. I think, and I miss that. I missed when my friends, when I had my own personal track, Egao Nico circuit, it was one of the most fun things we've ever done, was to dial in this and change this and see how this reacted. And all the tracks I've ever designed always have straightaways, because in real drifting, there's parts where you straighten out to reinitiate, or you get speed to initiate. And I think that RC drifting now is it, and I hate to say that, but it does come down to laziness. Everybody wants instant gratification and you guys are probably, I feel like, if and anybody listening that's into scale stuff, that should get you excited.
Mm-hmm.
That struggle, like the struggle is part of the fun.
100%. I do the scale RC crawling stuff that you mentioned earlier, and as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. It's supposed to be as real as you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
where
not just
we see everybody in this world it is today. It's that instant gratification. So I think I think you're right with that laziness, and I think that's what happens is just people don't want to put in the work. I get people that come into the hobby shop for plastic models, and they're like, "Oh, hey, are these things already put together?" No, you have to actually glue it, put it together, do the work. Oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to have to build this. They just want to take it home and make it work.
Right. Put it on their shelf and that's it.
Yeah, same with the cars. They don't want to, we get that for the ready to run. Oh, these are kits. I don't want to do that.
Right.
They don't want to build them. They don't want to tune them. They just want to take them out, beat the living shit out of them, and then come back and say, well, I jumped at 12 feet, 15 feet in the air. I don't understand why the shock broke. Well, it's a 10 scale car. If you went 10 feet in the air, go get in your real car, go jump off a 100-foot cliff and see if anything survives.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how it is. And then people look at you like, oh, okay, I get it. Maybe they get it.
Yeah.
But, no, I agree with you. I think you're 100% right with that, with the laziness thing for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to look at the other side of it too, is you have to put some blame on the corporations too, the companies that are making these cars. So you can break it down to, in the beginning, when everything was just counter steer, all-wheel drive, nothing really mattered. It just mattered about momentum and the steering setup, okay? And the tire compounds. Now, when we got into rear-wheel drive drifting and in 1/10 scale, it started, most of the chassis were like, mid-engine or front-engine rear-wheel drive. But as the companies see, grip is hard it's not hard. It's just you have to put the time in to figure out weights, balances, and, to make a front engine rear wheel drive chassis fast, because everybody always wants the fastest car. That's another problem. With that, they started doing rear engine mounts because the weight's over the rear axle. And of course, what's going to happen? It makes it easier to find that grip. So it's admirable that there's companies out there like D-Like, and I feel like the Japanese know what's going on. Like there's some Japanese that RC players that just want to jam. That's cool. But like companies like D-Like with all their crazy body roll and they'll try to mimic a full scale car. That's admirable that they're still going, because that's a very small niche of people that are going to actually want that. Most people just want to jump in and they're like, oh, ready to run. They don't even care if it's front engine rear wheel drive. To me, I only want front engine rear wheel drive, because guess what my drift cars are? Front engine rear wheel drive. I want to play with the weight balance. I want to play with all of that. So, it's also what's available. Like, it's all mid-mount or rear, I feel. Even saddlebag, like battery stuff, everything's pushing to the back because they don't want to have to fine-tune everything,
Yep.
I will admit,
they won't sell. They wouldn't sell it,
Well, I will admit, and I think in messaging I was talking to you a little bit about this, I have that MST, the FXX.
That's what I use.
That thing's been a bitch for me to get figured out, mostly, though, because of the gearing issue. Not so much for the weight balancing, but that drivetrain that's in there with those gears in the front, just the transfer of power, gets to the back.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ever get it to seem to be smooth.
Oh, wow.
And it, I don't know. I did buy the car used from Mike, so he probably fucked it up before I got it. But,
Good chance.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, but I mean, that car, I've always struggled with that. It always just seems really loud, clunky. Mm-hmm. And that's been my only thing. I get the car to work good, but I don't know. Something about that car just drives me nuts.
Yeah. Where's your battery placement?
I'd say it's probably
the factory mid.
Yeah, it's probably just rear of center.
Okay. And are you running like a full size or like a saddle style, like a smaller?
Shorty pack. Yep.
Shorty. Okay. Good. That's the chassis I run. I have a FXX VIP fully done, like like fully kitted. I bought it secondhand from one of the dudes that really introduced me into this like hardcore. I mean, you want to talk about like nerding out. This guy, ultimate, and I love his name's Flanders. Shout out Flanders, amazing dude. Just an artist with bodies, an artist with creation of the right parts for the right car. But he got this FXX feeling really good, and then I of course kept tweaking it with weight and balance. I do not remember. I've had this car since 2015. I do not remember. I think 2015. It might have been a little later, but I don't remember what gearing he's using or what diff and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Inside of it, but we could take a look at it, and you could try my car. It is the most to scale chassis that I've ever driven, and I love driving other people's cars. It could come down to how soft I have this thing. I mean, it's like no shock oil, just spring tuning, and the good old camber caster. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Like
very simple, but weight is key. Weight balance was key. Like weight on the arms and weight in the back, because that chassis is very front heavy, of course, because it's front engine. Right. So you have to you want to keep a lot of the weight up front, but you want to balance that so when there is acceleration, that there still is a little bit of a pitch and rock. And not all cars are 75-25. They're like a Miata's 50-50 weight distribution, but these are of course a little bit heavy in the front, so you got to play with it. But it'd be fun to get together and mess around and see if we could get that thing pumping for you.
I'm down for that. Yeah, heck yeah, because this thing's basically stock for the most part.
Okay, cool.
Like I said, I played with a little bit of gearing options and stuff on it, and I know a big part of it's suspension tuning. I'm all wrong on it now because I was playing around with it, and then how you start going down the rabbit hole. Well, this doesn't work. Before you know it, you got everything so wrong that you got to go back to somewhere along the line. I got to go back to like a basic setup and then just start over again.
Yeah, I've been through that. I used to just buy the spring packs, which is like everything from progressive rate ones to standard, and then I'd buy all those different like weight styles, the screw in style, the just every single one. I've messed with the saddlebag, the expansion, the weight tips, like the scales that like when you would whip it sideways, weight actually flicks into it. And I got rid of all that stuff, of course, but the rabbit hole of tuning, it gets pretty wild. But yeah, realistically, I think in drifting, I just kind of set the cars up to what would be a full scale real size car, and then extend, then you have to play with it, of course, because it's a it's a toy car. It's what we're playing with. But then you have to change a little bit of the dynamics. So I go as real as possible. And then, of course, when you try to drive it, it doesn't drive that well. Then I add my weights and stuff to find that perfect balance.
Do you find similarities in your setups? Like when you're setting up a real car for your tow or your camber, caster, any of that stuff? Like,
yeah, I mean, you could dive into it. I mean, pretty heavy. It all depends on your compounds that you're running. It depends on your surface. So, of course, like your P-tile or your polished is completely different from your carpet, your concrete. Everything, sadly, is different. And it comes down to compound tires. But that's what we do with, full scale drifting as well. We have different compound style tires, like am I running a shitty burner tire that's just going to, blow smoke and spin? Or am I running like a pretty grippy Kenda or, something of that nature? So yeah, it's a lot of the tuning, but realistically, like you could almost, I'd say the rear is really accurate to full scale. The front is the only setup that's a little odd, where it doesn't translate that much. But I think that's because depending now, if you had like one of those, like the Bulldog chassis, that's like 1-to-1, you know what I mean? I think they call it the Bulldog, where it's a full scale, full replica of like a Toyota style, A-arm front. If you did something like that, I'm sure you might be able to get a little bit closer. But on the stuff that we play with, of course, it's different. You know what I mean? So you have to make slight changes that you wouldn't in a normal car. Like I think the toe out in the front is always kind of extreme compared to what you do in a real car.
Right. That's what I thought. You'd never want that much toe out on something real. It would have to feel weird, I would think.
Yep. And I think that just comes down to the way that their suspensions are set up. And the amount of angle, because these RC cars have like they're right to WiseFab, you know?
Yeah, shit tons, that's for sure.
Yep.
So I guess leading from the RC and real drift talk, continuing over into the next drift conversation, I'm sure I know a lot of people want to know how did you form originally what was Smile Factory, then went over to Kuroshi and kind of formed that drift team with James and Rich. What brought all that about, and how did you come about that forming that team?
So the cool part is it basically formed from RC drifting. We had I had a group of friends that we got together and we jammed, and in that I was already kind of brainstorming team stuff, because I've always liked to be, this sounds horrible, I like to be a leader. So I always kind of had something, whether it was my first thing, which was Drift Warfare, which was a brand that I had dreams of turning into a team. Then I started this thing called Team Fanboy. Fanboy was with some heavy hitters that, like, now are doing really big things. But it never really went anywhere. But when I took that break and started RC drifting, the Smile Factory thing formed because I was doing something that was it was producing happiness. It was giving me smiles. So I kind of thought to myself, whether I'm sitting in a full scale car, or I'm at an RC track, or I'm playing video games, any situation, any place that you can be, there's always something that's creating happiness. So the Smile Factory just started. I was like, if I'm in my cockpit, it's like, this is what's producing happiness. This is my Smile Factory. So that's where it started, and we started an RC drift team called Smile Factory. So we were all magenta, which is kind of funny, because back then I didn't know that we were going to go full scale Smile Factory, all pink as well. So that was really neat back then. But so it started as the RC drift team. I did that for a while. We did stuff like Motorama together. We traveled around and did a whole bunch of stuff, and it just really got me into that group atmosphere. I guess I should probably just join a real gang. You know what I mean? No, but so
I know a couple.
couple. So yeah, I really like that gang mentality. The group, the friendships that are made, and then that moved over into when I finally said, okay, I've been playing RC enough. I need to get back into full scale drifting. I just moved it over, so I was like, okay, I have the Smile Factory thing. Let's keep going. So I thought it was really neat and interesting to have a drift team that also, some of them were RC players, at that time. And then of course it spread a little too wide, and it formed into 11 full scale drivers, which,
damn.
Yeah, it was big, and you'd think that would be cool, but it really isn't. We had a few local, and then everybody else was, Jersey, State College, just too spread out. So I ended up kind of towards, I'd say we did our first Vibes event, which was a team, our first team event, was with Smile Factory, and that was really, really fun. But that was like the first time I'm really driving with a lot of these guys. And that was sad. Like, if you're a drift team, it should be like all homies, all driving together all the time. And that's not how it was. So that progressed into, in the back of my mind, that we're not really doing a lot, in person. So it slowly brewed into my head, and we were coming up onto the invitation to drive a final bout. And that was up in Connecticut. And I was like, well, I think it's time I either pull the plug on this, because A, we never drive with each other and it's going to be embarrassing, or B, I just go for it. And I went with the whole, I'm just going to stop it, So I reached out to Simba, who runs Final Bout, one of the owners of Final Bout, and kind of just had a little heart to heart, being like, I appreciate the invite. But we have too many people, and it's not working. I'm thinking of just disbanding it and maybe going down to a core small group. And he told me a lot of teams end up overshooting, and then once they refine, they kind of knock it out of the park, because it's like a band. Imagine having 11 band members. Everybody's going to have their opinion on things. So it's really hard to get everybody together. So I pulled the plug. I waited a little bit. I reached out to some of the core people that I felt, were one, local-ish, within 45 minutes to me, and that were still into doing something with me, which happened to be Rich Whiteman, James Carper, and Chad Chimahowski. So they were all really close. James was already in my garage at this time, so he was already building cars and stuff with me. And I said, look, like, let's just do something new. I want to be, I want to help pioneer this, but I don't want to be the sole gang leader anymore. I want it to be like a unified group, which it still doesn't work that way. They all look at me. They want me to do everything. I love them to death, but they're a pain in my ass because they know I like this shit.
Yeah.
So they're like, Damien, we trust you, do the shit. And I'm like, damn it. So anyway, that's where Car Shop Kuroshi got formed. So, I made a smaller group. We talked about a name in a group chat for probably several weeks. One finally stuck because all of us were working. Kuroshi in Japanese is basically work till death. So it's a lot. They have a problem over there with businessmen basically working themselves to death. They die on the streets. They die, it's horrible. But we used it because Rich works harder than anybody that I know. And James literally provides for his family and works as much as he can to make sure that, he meets ends. Chad kicks his butt, doing his work stuff and trying to balance social lives, and work almost killed me. So, we called it Kuroshi. It seemed fitting. We went into final bout and we did, for the issues that we had with cars, which mainly was my car was giving me it was a nightmare. But we did pretty good. We got 5th with like broken like cars and bad runs. And that was the excitement that I needed to really pull me into full scale. So then Smile Factory was still going on, but what I ended up doing was deciding it was time for a change in branding because I felt like it was time to mature a little bit, if that makes sense. And we swapped over to Smile Death, and there's a whole story behind that, but I won't get into that. But that it's basically named from a famous Japanese driver that read one of my stickers, and he read it was, the kanji, the Japanese that we use over here in Translator is always wrong, which I do that on purpose because I think it's hilarious. But when he read something that was supposed to say My Smile Factory, that we would put on full scale cars, that I had a sponsored JZX 100 over there in Japan, he read that and it just said Smile Death. So instantly, and this is Suinaga, a famous D1 driver, I was like, well, that's it. That's the new name. So we matured with that, and that's going, that's in its rebuilding phases. But Car Shop Kuroshi took off. Like, I didn't expect it to do what it did, and I'm really happy that, it took off. But the funny thing is, now I find myself building a track in my garage, and RC drifting is coming back again, like I can't get away from it. I never will. But yeah, sorry, that was a long-winded explanation, but
no, that was great. I mean, none of us knew the full backstory with that, and I mean, your excitement and your pride for Kuroshi does come through, because I mean, whether you watch just your Instagram reels, your YouTube videos, I mean, you guys are just homies. Everyone, and they're just kicking it. It's very vibey to watch. Like I said, even your Instagram reels, you can tell you guys are just boys having fun at drift events, just kind of doing your own thing. Seems like low stress, and that's nice to see, rather than 11, 12 people that aren't all that close and aren't all that cool with each other. I'd rather see that tight-knit group of homies just doing fun shit. So that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I think and we have a different persona online. I know that. A lot of people think that we hate each other. Because it's our podcast, you know what I mean? Our podcast gets a little brutal between each other, but no, when it breaks down to it, this is just another hobby. We're not out there getting paid to do this. And even if we were, if you can turn something that you love into a job, that's like the ultimate dream. If you turn into a dick, or you're not really with your best friends doing the stuff, then you shouldn't be doing it, because that's not the reason. So
I agree. That's like, I love going to the heli events for that same reason, the camaraderie. You get around like-minded people, but it's I always laugh because I'll go to my flying field and I'll go flying, or I'll go drifting, and but like the heli events especially, we'll go to those and I find myself not really flying. I'm hanging out with everybody. We're shooting the shit. We're, the evenings you're out, you're drinking and you're just having fun and you're just enjoying everyone's company and just having a good time with your friends because you're all into the same sort of thing. And, I've never, Aaron's busted my ass trying to get me to go with the like final bout or one of these. He went last year and he said it's kind of the same thing. It's just a different, same type of event, but a different event, if that makes sense. Same mentality with everything. And that's what it is. When you get all your friends together, it can be such a good time.
Yep. Yeah, there was a time I looked at stuff a little different when I was younger, and I think as you mature, you really sit back and you can see, what things are for what they actually are. And at the end of the day, whether it's RC, whether it's full scale drifting, I don't care if you're into Magic the Gathering. We're just a bunch of fucking nerds that happen to love the same shit, and we should all be, family. That's all it is. And leave the drama, all that stuff. And if you sit back and realize it, that's all it is at its core. There's still, you're going to get your niche, your little groups that are out there to prove something, or they have a little bit different ideas of what it is, but later on in life they realize the same thing. They're not there yet. And I've had that with RC. We had drama in RC drifting, and I thought it was hilarious because I'm like, you're grown ass men willing to fight over toy cars.
Yep, we see it all the time.
It's embarrassing. Let me just throw this out there for any of your listeners. If you're a grown ass man, and I'm talking, you know what? Not even a grown ass man. If you're even at the age of understanding, and you have an issue with somebody else over toy cars or full scale cars because of differences in opinion or, whatever, grow up. Like it's time. You know what I mean? Like just get over yourself and enjoy your hobby with the right people.
Yep.
Because it's just embarrassing.
Absolutely.
If you want to see the biggest drama, go watch an RC dirt oval race.
Oh my God.
I believe it.
These guys lose their minds, but drama's everywhere. I mean, that's one of the things that got me out of the racing. I used to go around racing, off-road, truggy everywhere, pretty much, a lot of East Coast and everything. And then the kids were going with me, and I got out of it because of all the drama. These guys would race like they're racing for a $10,000, $15,000 purse at the end of the day. Right. When realistically, you were maybe getting a gift certificate for a free race the following week and a pat on the back with an attaboy. That was it.
Yeah.
And after the fact, I'd have grown men in my face at, 10, 12 years old, grown men in my face screaming, fuck you, get off the track, get out of my spot in the driver's stand.
Yeah.
I had one guy who, it was on video, one of the media guys basically got it, where he whips his controller from the driver's stand because he was pissed that I beat him in a B main. Like, it's not that deep. We're all here to have fun and relieve stress, not to add on more stress.
Yeah.
It's amazing the amount of people, they take it too serious. Whatever they're doing, those types of people, they just take it too serious. And you see it everywhere. I've seen it at fucking, of all places, I've gone to Evergreen and I see guys taking it serious. They're pissed. It's like, dude, you are not at an event. You are at fucking Evergreen of all places. Relax, chill.
Yep. Good
Take a breather.
Mike, in helis, there's never any drama, right?
Yeah, no helicopter drama at all. Yeah.
I thought Mike was sleeping there. We haven't heard from him for a little while.
No, I'm just listening. This is good stuff. I'm not big on. I'm very green for RC drifting. Like, done it twice. Well, attempted to do it twice. And I don't know anything about the real drift world. I've messed with, building. I had a 91 CRX when I was younger. Put a GSR engine in it and beat the snot out of it, but never got into the drifting thing. So. Yeah, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's special breed of stupid to get into drift.
I did go through a little spent where I tried to learn how to race RC cars and went to our local track and had guys accusing me of running the wrong battery, running a LiPo and all this other stuff. And like, I'm trying to get tips from guys and they're like basically hiding all their equipment from me because they think I'm going to steal their ideas. And it's like, this is not the world I want to be in, It killed it for me within a week. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, it's definitely
it's a shame.
Fun.
Yeah, competition ruins a lot. Like that's what it is. That's why RC drifting is very. There's not really a lot of competition. If anything, you should be all trying to be the same speed so that you're really able to jam together good. where racing and stuff like that. And again, there's always the differences, and I've seen RC drift competitions get heated. RC Car World. I literally left. I'd say twice going down there after seeing grown men getting really mad at like a fun competition. Like again, like you said, what are you going to win? Nothing. Like a pair of MST red dots. You know what I mean? You can't even use those. They suck. Like it was ridiculous. But and you'll see it in all forms. But I think that's the problem is these anybody, and honestly, I don't know if it's all over the world. It might just be an American thing because us Americans love to play dirty. We love to win.
Yeah.
So we do everything that we can. So I think that we take it way too serious and we ruin the fun for ourselves. We get stressed out and then we leave, or we ruin the fun for others who are just there to have fun. And if you sat back and we're like, okay, this is just for fun. Now, granted, if somebody's super cheating or doing something shady, that does suck too, and there's pieces of shit out there that will do that kind of stuff. And you should never touch anybody else's car or do anything like, real bad. But if everybody just was in that same mentality of let's just have fun, I think everything would be glorious. You'd have fun at your local RC tracks, Yep. You'd have fun at your local drift events. For the most part, drift events are pretty good, like full scale, real ones. I don't know about RC stuff. I haven't been to anything lately, and it seems like the game has changed a little bit. They're not really doing so much competition. It seems like they're kind of working together to try to get big flowing trains.
I think they are trying to make it about having fun, because I think like this upcoming week down at First State Hobbies in Delaware, they're doing like a Matsuri. So they're not doing a competition version, but it's everybody just hanging out, gonna kind of party and have a good time for the day.
You actually got an invite, I think, to that.
Nice. Yeah, I'd love to go, but gotta work that time of year. I gotta work every freaking day.
I would love to make it out to that winter Matsuri, because the only other thing around here is RC Car World, and right now they're in the middle of running that their scale drift series, and that just gets a little how much money can I spend as opposed to the next guy, and it gets a little weird.
Oh, wow, there's a scale drift series now going on. Really?
They run it every other week. I'm sorry, over the winter it's every weekend actually. It's called the Scale Drift Series, and they run it down there at RC Car World. They get guys bringing these $3,000 sharks that they travel all around, and because they have a Futaba sponsorship, they think their shit don't stink. And
wow.
It definitely brings out the different breed of, all right, let's bang doors and have fun, to I'm not helping anyone, you're fucked, figure out your own setup, figure out this. And the mentality of the guys for sure changes.
I'm better than you. Why are you on the track at the same time I am, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I don't do any of the competing down there, because it really does become I have $3,000 in my shark. Well, I have $3,500 in my D-like. Okay, all right. Can you drive it?
Right.
is what it comes down to. And it's cool they're doing it. It's cool there's a place that offers a scale drift series. I think people just kind of, at the end of the day, like you said, got to know we're playing with toy cars. It's not very deep.
No, and I always thought, if you're going to do competition stuff in an RC car world, not just the track, by the way, that was kind of funny, but in the RC car world, it should be chassis. In my opinion, it should be like, okay, here's the chassis. It stays very minimum. You're allowed to do this, and this. You all run the same this. You all run the same that. Make it like a series that comes down to driver skill, not how much money you can put into it.
Right.
That's kind of been the story, though, of RC in general, in all classes, whether it be oval racing, drag racing, anything, is trying to find a balance to have like a spec class.
Spec class would be awesome.
And some have tried. And then you just get these guys that think they're too good for spec, and then they right away, well, I want to have an unlimited. I want to have an open class. I want to have, because they think, well, they have deeper pockets, so that's going to make them better. And yeah, it sort of stinks, because some of the best racing I've ever had was a Traxxas / spec class when I used to race at a place up towards Harrisburg, and everybody was running the exact same car. It just came down to driver. I mean, you couldn't change anything. There was guys that would come up, buy the car, open the cellophane, charge a battery, stick it in, and go.
That's super cool.
And it was a blast. We had some of the most fun racing with that you could ever have.
That's the class that I ran when I was talking about them. Guys were getting mad at me because I literally did that. I bought the car, took the cellophane off, had the hobby shop owner charge the battery for me, and I threw it on the track, and I was burning guys on the straightaway, and I was accused of running a lipo, and they made one of the guys come over and take the body off and make sure I'm running the right battery, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
That's nuts.
I just bought the damn thing.
Just that good. Yeah, see?
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it was burning them going down the straightaway. I don't know if it's because their shit was all clapped out already or what the deal was, but once we got to the corners, I had no clue what I was doing, so they would get past me anyways. But
you could drive straight and forgot to turn.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've raced with people like that already. It's always a good time.
So on the kind of next topic, as far as keeping it fun and lighthearted, how did you, Damien, get into like the commentator world? Because I know you said you were out of it, in it, as far as drifting goes. How did you get into just commentating, like even Final Bout? Because I gotta say, you are, as I've been to a bunch of events, you are the most interesting dude on the mic, to say the least. You're funny. You keep the crowd engaged. You commentate the driving well. You break shit down pretty nicely, but you're also entertaining. You're just overall an entertaining, funny dude. So how did you kind of get into that commentating world at some of these events?
That's a good question. So I never thought I would be doing anything. Even a podcast is something I would never ever think that I would be doing. But I think it stems from before car stuff. Now, granted, it turned into I was doing both at the same time, but really before I got super into cars or RCs, I was a lead singer of a band. So I hate to say it, but I like attention. You know what I mean? I think we all do in some way, shape, or form. But I like eyes on me. I always wanted to act. That world was always very, I don't know, just intriguing. So I think speaking, I'm dumb as fuck. I'm a high school dropout. I'm not very educated. I don't know very big words. I think I'm an idiot, but I feel like I can kind of control a crowd, and I've been doing that in bands since forever. So it kind of came natural. The podcast just popped out of nowhere, and then from the podcast, it went into the opportunity to do like a Final Bout, commentating. And that was really nice because it was with a homie, Palmer from Animal Style. So they asked me if I would do it. And I said, is Palmer doing it? And when they said yes, and I get to do it with him, it was a no-brainer. I was like, oh, we're going to be saying some of the dumbest shit on the planet because I know I can be myself and be free. Drifters have that. I want to say that we all share that mentality of, goofiness, but like still into the serious side of the mechanics and the physics and all the detail of the styling and all that. So I think we share a lot of common ground. So it's very easy for me to speak to drifters and RC drifters because you in the RC world, you also get that as well. It's a lot about style, and that's kind of where I base everything off of. But yeah, it was very easy. And when Simba asked me, they wanted our team to, of course, drive, but Rich was having a baby. So we knew we couldn't do the main, so it was pointless to even try to compete in East. So when Simba asked me to MC with Palmer, I was like, let's do it. And I've already been doing like the podcast for about, 7-8 months, I think, by then. And yeah, I just went for it. But I think that stems from bands, for sure. Like being on the mic in front of thousands of people and telling them to, punch each other in the face. You kind of like, it's a control thing maybe too. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little controlling. I don't know. But yeah, that was fun.
You're good at it. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you and Palmer are definitely an interesting duo on the mic for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to revisit that. Next year, sadly, well, not sadly, but next year we're going to be competing again. We're trying to win Final Bout for sure. I just want to get our name on the trophy one time. But that also, I can't MC and drive at East, but there's a chance that I might reach out and maybe fly out to a couple of the other special stages and do them maybe with him. If he's still doing it, we might revisit that. I'd like to do another one or two.
That would be awesome. That'd be sweet to get you on the mic at other Final Bouts, not just East. That would be fucking sweet.
I think one of the things that makes a good commentator for any event is someone who's actually done it. So you're doing the drifting, you're a participant, you understand what it's, kind of more what it's about. So it makes it easier when you're on the mic to explain everything, so maybe if you're explaining it to a crowd who doesn't follow everything or doesn't know everything, it's just easier because you've lived it. rather than just being somebody who's got the voice and knows how to commentate, but doesn't know enough of what that particular event. If that makes any sense? Because I've seen people force it, where they might have the voice and they might be really good on the mic with something, but if they're not comfortable for whatever the event is, or around that particular group of people, they're forcing it, and it comes across that way sometimes, and it's just not natural. It's not flowing, and it comes across as not having a good time with it.
Just like FD. I'm sorry, did I let that slip?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't. Oh man.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I feel like any commentator should have at least a couple years experience and understand how the cars move, understand what it takes to be able to put your chassis in this zone, or with the power and grip levels, how far out it can actually push you. I think that's it's very, and most besides FD, I feel that most others have commentators that have kind of been drivers. They've been in that situation before. Aside from Jared, I believe Jared is starting to do some stuff, which is kind of cool. And that's admirable. Hopefully he does. But I do feel that, like, especially during Final Bout, I've driven that track a bunch. So when they were coming in, and I was like, oh, they're not going to make it. They're going too slow. Like I can already tell, because I know what it takes to make that turn or to make that transition. Where to do it. And that's why I think me and Palmer do pretty good, because besides the goofy stuff, and we were probably saying stuff that we shouldn't have, but besides the goofy shit, we can still look at it and really diagnose what's going on. And I think that should be in any type of world, and whether it's motocross or anything, the announcer should know what's going on for sure.
You would think they should. I've seen places and been places where they don't, and you're like, what the hell are they doing? Yeah,
they just pick a pretty face and a good voice. You know what I mean? It seems to be kind of what their go-to really quick. They're like, you can talk, you're on the mic. And it's like, well, they're not saying the right stuff for the people that are actually invested into what they're listening to. That's and case in point, you have a lot of people that watch this stuff, and let's talk Formula Drift. Formula Drift is what a lot of people get into drifting wise first, because it's more mainstream, it's more accessible, it's in their face, and instantly they have a commentator or whatever talking about the stuff, but not explaining why and explaining what. Like, I feel like the judges need to talk more. They need to explain what they're looking for. So they'll be like, who do you think wins, this guy or this guy? And you hear the louder cheer for somebody that clearly fucked up, but they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what a winning, run looks like yet. It's because they're just getting into it. So they need that personality to be there to kind of guide them. And it's one of the things that we do on my podcast is we talk a lot of shit. We have a lot of fun. We're a bunch of jerks, but we definitely like to push some of the origins of drifting, because people that are getting into it now, they're like, what is video option? What is, MSC challenge? I've never heard of that. There's Drift Tengoku. There's so many outlets from the, earlier stages of drifting that are such historic events, that have happened and have shaped drifting in full scale. And the best is, it shaped RC like it did. Look at all the D1 cars. Look at all, that was when you used to buy an RC car, you were getting a D1 replica back in the day.
Yeah,
like that's the body it was, So, and all our RC companies come from Japan, you know what I mean? Most of them, but I think that they need somebody on the microphone. They need somebody that's a good representation of the historical side all the way up to explaining modern day what's going on. So yeah, you're right. Sorry, Jared, you got to get out of there.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good dude, and I think he means well. But yeah, there's not a lot of explanation. I think he needs to go watch some Risky Devil, or go watch some just old classic shit to see what drifting really is. Because that's the other problem. Kind of, not to go back to the subject we were talking about prior, but I think a lot of people, their first seeing of drifting is FD, and they're like, oh shit, my RC car, it has to be sliding the whole track. You never straighten out during a run in FD. Oh, I need to have it slip the whole time. I need to make it feel like it's 1,000 horsepower. I need to make it feel, and it's everyone's chasing that high power, low grip, when in reality, that's not at all what it is. So it's interesting and refreshing that we still have people like you in the hobby, because it unfortunately has in more recent years become a dying breed.
Yeah, that's a shame to hear. It's kind of funny. A lot of my friends, and I don't know if it's just ironic that I'm even on here with you guys right now, because a lot of my friends have recently exploded in the RC drift stuff. I have a friend now that's building a crazy scale basement track. I'm talking like, you guys know Street Break Circuit down in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay, so the detail in that track is going to be up in the. He's actually kind of like Buffalo, New York, but like it's, Erie is very close to. He's doing a basement track that is just insane, like it's super insane, and that came out of nowhere. But I like to see what they're doing because it looks like they're getting into that like scale stuff, and talk about people that CFD and then they get into RC and all they know is, insane horsepower, insane grip, sliding all the time. We used to fuck with the Corolla style drifting where the car barely drifted and it was so much fun. You'd have to go into a corner so fast and then hope that it starts to slide and you're on the verge of straightening out and gripping up the whole time. But like something like that, people will be like, what are you doing? This is stupid. And it's like, this is the roots, like this is fun. And it's also a challenge.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Well, I don't know how true it is, and maybe but I've heard like Vaughn getting it, like he uses RC to practice for drifting.
I mean, I could see. I mean, I know that a lot of these guys, if it's not sim drifting, they also definitely RC, and it was kind of hidden, which is funny. Like I said, I'm just finding out now that there's so many of my friends at the end of the day at their shop, they'd put the lifts up like you guys are talking about, and they'd make a makeshift track and they're jamming. Like I went on like a little Wisconsin tour after final bout, and friends were like, "Oh, you guys, are you coming over? We have an RC track at the garage." And I'm like, "This is so sick."
Nice.
But you don't see it. You don't see it anymore.
Yep. I think some people they're almost afraid that I've seen in the RC world in general. Is there's a lot of guys that are afraid they're closet RC because they're afraid people are going to look at them and think, oh, well, I'm a grown man, I'm playing with toys. And people are going to look down on them because they think they're playing with toys.
Right.
But they don't realize like some of these things they're more than toys. Like our helicopters that we fly, these 700 size helicopters are flying lawnmowers that cost thousands of dollars and take a huge amount of skill, to be able to fly them. And it's not just going to Walmart and, buying a $50 toy and just using it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I think at least for the younger people, that definitely, it's funny you say like closeted RC, because that 100% is a thing. Because growing up, I mean, I'm 26 now, and through that high school era of doing RC, doing cars, planes, helicopters, everyone kind of knew I was into it, but they'd, oh, are you going to go run your little RC cars this weekend? Or are you going to go fly your little helicopters? And it was always that kind of, they didn't understand. And at the time, it was almost like, oh, I'm kind of a wiener for being into this.
Yeah,
right?
you usually don't go out. You don't go out on a date and bring that up on the first date. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play my RC cars tonight.
I mean, flash forward then. I mean, I worked at the hobby shop with my dad for eight-ish years, and in my early 20s, people were coming in that used to make fun of me for the RC shit, and all of a sudden, I'm selling them a drift car. I'm selling them a helicopter. I'm selling them the same shit that I was clearly clowned on before. And it's funny how everything comes full circle when you can just kind of be a geek and enjoy it. Whatever you're in, be a geek, dive all the way in and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace it and go with it, and it's a whole hell of a lot more fun. Life's too damn short, man. Just have fun.
Yep. Yeah. That's what people don't understand. I always used to love the whole thing where somebody, I forget who it was, but they were joking around and they were like, oh, you can go play, the same thing. You can go play with your little toy. And I was like, it's crazy. That little toy costs more than your full scale toy.
Yeah, right.
And, just to be a little bit of a dick, you got to dig at them too. You know what I mean? Because they don't understand it. And then I took the body off and I showed them, and all of a sudden the mechanics come out. They're like, "Oh, look at this! Look at how this steering rack's set up. Like look at the suspension. Look at this." And then you start talking spring rates, and they're like, their minds change. You know what I mean? They realize it's not just a little toy. I don't think. A lot of people don't see, we're not taking the dresses off of our girls and showing our girls around all the time, so we're not showing off.
We're not supposed to do that?
And hopefully you're making money off of that. But anyway, you know, if
OnlyFans
they
link in the comment section.
I have a Patreon. So anyway, if you take off the body and you show a mechanic an RC car, especially an RC drift car, they get intrigued when they find out that there's like ball diffs and you know what I mean, like all sorts of different mechanical things. Anybody that's a mechanic or into, you know, that kind of anything, hot rods, anything, can appreciate that, and it changes the idea. But when the body's on, it looks like we're playing with little cars, you know?
So here's the challenge, and I got to figure out, you'd probably be the guy to try it. So when are you going to be able to get a drift car that's going to be fast enough and can be hooked up enough that you can chase the RC drift car with the real car while the person riding shotgun is driving the RC car?
Well, we've already done that.
Oh, shit. Really? Where's the video?
So it wasn't a drift car, of course, because there's no way to get. I mean, there is a way, but you're spending. Oh man, I mean that'd be a crazy powerful motor, you know, to be able to build like a larger scale RC car that can slide as fast as a full scale would take a lot of research. You know what I mean? Development on that.
Yeah, you need like a good quarter scale with lots of power and somebody else who can drift slower.
Right. So. Yeah. But we have had at I co-host an event up at Lake Erie Speedway called Vibes. And one of our media team, we have a lot of drone pilots, and one of our media team that came out, and I forget his name, apologies, but he brought his, and I don't know what scale it was, but he brought out his RC camera car. And it was absolutely crazy to see him driving this thing, and from what I've heard, he was in the passenger seat of most of these cars, FPVing behind the same car that he's driving it in. You know what I mean? Like just wild stuff. So I'll have to try to see if I can find some of that footage and link it to you, because it was pretty sick, and I don't think he got run over at all, which is very surprising.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
All right, well, what about a helicopter hovering, pyro flipping with a car doing donuts underneath it? We got to figure out a way to get some kind of RC and drift car thing that's not been done yet.
Yeah, I like that.
Didn't we do that with my MST I had?
Yeah, we tried that with the RC stuff that didn't go too well.
Yeah.
Because the surface we were trying to drift on was like absolutely horrendous, horrible. Plus, you were using a drift car that you didn't know how to drift, and you couldn't drift. So you're just swinging the ass end around, and, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It was a disaster from the get-go. But yeah, we got to get like a big 700 size heli, doing something, car underneath it. That'd look kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild.
Figure out a way to do that sometime, maybe.
I love the whole, like, you know, trying to figure out something new.
Yeah.
And I like that it seems like RC enthusiasts in general really like to push the boundaries of things, and I've always loved that about this hobby. It's a lot of creatives, you know what I mean? It's either they really like the artistic side of building stuff to scale and painting it beautifully, or they like the suspension geometry and the tuning, or they like pushing the boundaries, and now they're putting like, you know, these full scale drivers in the seats of the drift cars that their heads move with the gyro, and there's now an FPV camera on it, and
that's crazy shit. I've seen that.
Yeah. Yep. I love that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And they're doing that, adding little backfire kits to them. I love just the small detail, making it yours.
Oh yeah.
You know, that'll make or break. Just again, going back to kind of the style thing. Do what you think is going to look cool, and not what everyone else is doing. And it's rare you go to a track now where you see people with the backfire kits and light kits, and a lot of people, at least in RC car world, will throw a quick, one tone on an S15. Everyone has a yellow S15 at RC car world. Everyone has, working turn signals, and that's it. And then you see 10 cars on track that all look the same. So it's nice having that different, just people breaking it up.
Right. Yeah, I always dug that. My favorite thing with RC drifting was with building them body wise and stuff was the rare parts. I always liked having something that not a lot of people have, and it's the same with like my full scale cars and stuff. I like having something that's a little different, and I love that in the RC car world you can find that stuff. Like my S15 body has like real D-Max taillights, like stuff that to me is it's just super Japanese and it pulls me into the full scale. You know, I like my RC stuff to kind of be very reminiscent of my full scale stuff, where you take pride in your chassis, you take pride in what you built, and you want to show it off. So it's neat to be like, oh yeah, I have removable bumpers, and underneath is the exoskeleton, and blah blah blah. Like, I love that kind of attention to detail, and I don't know how it is anymore. I know down in Florida they're killing it. Like Dustin and Street Brake Circuit, I got to do a Florida tour of RC drifting. I hit like all the major tracks around Florida, which was super sick, and they are killing it. Like when it's 8-6 day, they have like 26 fully gorgeous scaled out 8-6s, and it's just I love that stuff, man.
Well, I think we're gonna be going. I don't know, Aaron, if you have anything else, or Mike, we're going to be running long past our normal hour show for sure.
I feel like we could talk to Damien for a couple hours.
That's what I was going to say. I think we could probably keep going and drag this on, but I think at some point we'll have to try to stop a little bit here and then maybe save it for another time or revisit something else. That sounds good to everybody.
Yeah,
but
I'm always down. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys getting me on here. I think it's really cool, and even talking to one of my media friends today, because I'm setting up my own drift events and stuff. So we have a meeting, and he's like, can you do anything tonight? And I was like, no, I got to jump on a podcast. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And then it took a little bit. And he goes, wait, what podcast? Thinking it's going to be, my friends in the drifting full scale world. And I was like, yeah, it's like an RC based podcast. And he's like, oh, that's even cooler than a full scale podcast. I was like, I know, right?
Nice.
I was like, I'm like honored, it's super cool.
Tell them to share it, and where to go, and got to get you the links. That way we can get more listeners. But,
I'm definitely, I can't wait to push the RC stuff again, because I think more people need to see it again. I think more full scale drifters need to see the attention to detail and how much of a release it can be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to maybe go blow the dust off my drift car after this conversation.
Practice.
Got you hyped now, Mike. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited.
Then after the new year, you can make a trip out here, and we'll do some drifting out here on my shitty little basement track, or go somewhere else. And
I'll have a track as well. You guys aren't far, so
no, we're close.
By that time, my track should hopefully be up and running. I miss the old track. If you guys are nerds and want to go back, I don't know if you've ever seen in 2015 on the Smile X Death YouTube channel. If you go back to my very first videos, you can see some of the RC drifting stuff I was doing forever ago, and kind of get hype a little bit. I like to watch them sometimes
first.
What's that?
That's probably the track I drove on first when I ever drove an RC car.
Yeah, you were on carpet, right? You were on my carpet, right?
Yeah, because you had it all scaled out. It was like half the garage. You kind of came into the garage. It was on the right side, and then you had the cars on the left side or something.
Yep, that was Egal Nico circuit. Yep. I miss those days.
Yeah, I remember that, because that's what I mean. The first time somebody handed me a drift car and I was trying to get around, I went, oh, this is fucking horrible. Because I was used to off-road racing, point and shoot, kind of thing. I'm like, man, this is like out of control. Now I'm like loving it.
Yeah, it's wild. It trains your mind to accept like a road racer. You give the road racer a drift car and they keep their hands on the wheels. They can't let go because they're trained not to. Where in drifting, it's letting that, and of course we use the gyro to mimic what a steering rack with a proper alignment in the front end of a car would naturally do. But that counter steering kind of that play, it translates to real life, which is wild, because you're just letting go.
So do you want to share like some of your info, like your website where you can be found at on any of your socials or any of that stuff?
I guess, and I appreciate that. The Smile Death, we have smiledeath.com. That is the merch stuff. Pile Up Podcast on Instagram, and of course YouTube is under our Smile Death flag. So Smile X Death on YouTube is also kind of like our hub where we put Car Shop Kuroshi stuff, Pile Up Podcast stuff, some of my personal shenanigans. If you go back far enough, you'll see RC drifting. You're going to see some RC drifting for sure this winter, because I'm already knee deep in this again. But yeah, and then other socials would just be Car Shop Kuroshi on Instagram, and my personal is Power Omen, OM3N. I'll probably be posting a bunch of stuff. If you go to any one of them, you can find all of them. You know what I mean? I make them very accessible throughout the whole. It's like my universe. It's like my Marvel universe. I'm trying to,
Yeah, once you find one, you can find them all.
Yep.
Yeah, link them all together. That means you're doing it the right way. That's That's the way
For
to do
everyone
it.
listening, go get you a little Smile Death hoodie because I got mine and they are cozy as shit. They're not no cheap hoodie. They're not no little Hanes or some cheap bullshit.
Yeah,
I appreciate
see,
that.
what's the biggest size you have though, Damien?
Oh, I don't even know,
See?
honestly. I mean, we go pretty big.
I was gonna say that's usually I end up getting my own like for like the podcast here and stuff because when I go to buy clothing, being a big dude, no one ever has
Yeah.
shit for me.
Yeah, and if they do, it just doesn't fit right. I have that same problem, like certain people's clothing. I want to support people, and then I buy their shirt, and I'm like, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I'm in
a
the same
US
boat. I get
usually
it.
like a 5X, and nobody usually does anything with those.
Right.
So if you get a 5X from anything overseas, it's like the equivalent of like an XL or double XL, and
Yeah.
it's actually crazy. I ordered a shirt one time from overseas from a heli company. It was a 6X. I'm like, this thing's going to be huge. I put it on. I
Right.
felt like I was going to be the Incredible Hulk and rip the freaking thing as soon as I put it over my shoulders.
Oh yeah, overseas sizes are so different.
It was ridiculous.
Hmm.
But well, guys, I think on that we're going to try to wrap things up here a little bit. And going forward into January, we are going to work on getting back into some more heli stuff. We've been real hard on the drift stuff lately. I'm glad you guys have liked it so far, but we are going to shift gears a little bit into January. After the new year, we're going to bring some more helis back, get into some more flying things, some more flying shenanigans. Maybe not all helis, some planes, with some of the things going on. We're going to see what Mike's going to do with his large plane, if he's going to keep it, sell it, crash it, what he's going to do.
I might sell it. And build a fifth scale drift car.
Yep. See, here we go. I'll put his information in there so you can keep track of his marketplace sellings.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to do flying stuff on the podcast anymore.
Yeah, there we go. It's going to be. We'll just change the name of it and go to all drifting.
Yep.
But Damien, thank you so much for being on here with us. It's been super informative.
Thank you.
It was great getting the perspective from someone who does the RC and the real drifting all together and get some of that. There's so much untapped things. I'm looking at notes I had written down here, and I didn't even get the half of them. So we'll definitely have to hit something up later or get your track going, and maybe we'll have to do some kind of little video with everything going on there and add a little addendum going on here.
That could be super fun. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, don't be a stranger. Make sure once the track's fully set up, I'm definitely gonna have you guys come out. Like, let's jam.
Yeah, we'll be in touch then for sure. But guys, any questions for us, for any of us, you can hit us up at fullpackagerc@gmail.com. And whether questions, comments, whatever you want to let us know. Mike, any final thoughts, parting words?
I just want to say thanks to Damien. I learned a lot. This is a world that I know pretty much nothing about. So just sit back, listening to the stories and stuff was pretty awesome. And you got me kind of hyped up. I'm ready to go dust my car off and see if I can figure this thing out. So
nice.
I love that.
Aaron, what do you got? Final thoughts?
I mean, kind of along the same thing. I mean, I'm always incredibly hyped on drifting, and I always stay. It's always nice seeing the Damien Daily posts, whatever your shenanigans you're into on Instagram. I know you get a little wild there, but it's nice to see someone keeping drifting fun and keeping the hobby fun, and overall having a great personality involved with it. I mean, and just thank you again for being in the RC world and in the hobby and just being awesome. I mean, you're a fucking awesome character, and it's great to have you here. So, and before I forget, we'll plug the other Full Package RC After Dark. That's onlyfans.com/fullpackagerc. Hit that up. Only $9.99 a month. You can see everything after dark.
Okay.
Aside from that,
how much of that am I getting? I need to get some profit off of that. I better be.
Me and Mike are doing a special. Aaron takes Mike's juices. That's our first video.
Oh man, here we go back to the creative juices again. And on that note, guys, hey, we're going to the end of the year and holidays. So from us here at Full Package, we wish you a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive.
Or drink and drive.
Or drink and drive or drink and fly. Well, maybe whatever.
Just get good at it. You need practice. Yeah,
lay off the twisteds. Whatever you need to do. But guys, have a great holiday season. We'll see you here in 2025, and we're going to be back at it bigger than ever. Thank you guys for listening, and have a great night.
See ya.
See ya.